Hi, Mikesh, Shivani, and Sarvam. Thank you for joining in. We're just going to wait for 2-3 minutes for others to join in and then we'll begin. Hi, Lalit. Thank you for joining in. We're waiting for another 2 to 3 minutes and then we'll begin. In the meantime, while we wait for the others, if you could maybe unmute yourself or put it on the chat box, you know, what it is that you do, a quick introduction, what are you looking to take away from today's session? That would be wonderful. You can unmute, or if you're comfortable, if you're not comfortable, you can also put on the chat, whatever suits you best. Great. So while we wait for the others, there's actually a poll that I'm going to bring up on the screen. Um, I would request you all here to please fill in the poll questions. This will also give our speaker an idea of, what you're currently doing in your organization. Do you have a team reporting to you, and how long you've been in such a team management role, and your understanding of coaching at work. I hope everybody's able to see the poll. Hello, Shiva, Arna, and Naresh. Thank you for joining in. To those of you who have just joined, you can please fill in this poll. And Shiva, I think you have a question. You've raised your hand.
Actually, I have already filled the poll.
Great. Thank you so much, Shiva.
Thank you.
So just a correction over here in the poll. The third question is should be more than 3 years. So apology for the typo over there.
Great. So we'll keep the poll on. There are around 11 of us here. So if everybody could just fill in the responses, that would be wonderful. It will also help Rosario here to really be able to pace the session accordingly. And we will have time for questions at the end as well. I think we can begin now. The others will join in as and when, and I'll admit them to the room, Rosario. Is that okay? Perfect.
Yeah, sure. Please go ahead.
Great. So I'm still keeping the poll up for the rest of you to put in your answers. But in the meantime, I would like to welcome you all. Thank you so much for taking time out and attending this session today on Leadership Essentials. I understand you take time out from your work to attend these webinars, and we hope that you have a lot to take away at the end of each one. And I'm sure you're going to have a lot to take away today as well. This is going to be a 1-hour session. We will have a presentation in the beginning. Post that, we will have a Q&A. But any questions that you have during the presentation, I would encourage you to please put it on the chat box and we will attend to them from time to time. If at all your question is not answered in the chat box, we'll definitely pick it up during the Q&A segment of this particular event. Without any further delays, I would like to also introduce Rosario Barreto, who is our speaker and expert for the day. Rosario is a certified executive coach with ICF ACC credential, and he has completed his PCC level training from Ericsson International in Canada. He comes with over 25 years of corporate as well as entrepreneurial experience. He's previously worked in senior sales and business leadership roles with logistics giants such as FedEx and DHL. Before starting his firm Bearco in 2020, Rosario was the country manager of a UK-based logistics company. Also, his venture, that is Bearco, offers a bouquet of consulting, mentoring, as well as executive coaching services designed for the specific needs of SME startups and corporates. He will also be telling you a little more about, the coaching services that he offers. Great. So I think we can end the poll now. Thank you all for participating. A lot of you have participated. I'll just be ending the poll and I'll share the results to the screen as well. I hope everybody's able to see the poll results. So majority of the people here are founders. We also have a couple who are from not founders necessarily, but they work in other functions of their organization. Of course, being founders, they do have a team reporting to them as well. And majority of the people have been in a leadership team management role for 1 to 3 years, which is then I think followed by 1 year and then over 3 years. And everybody has a sort of mid-level understanding of coaching at work. So that's a quick summary for you all. I will be stopping. I'm going to stop sharing the poll. And Rosario, thank you so much for taking time out for curating the session for the community and for taking time out to even conduct the session for us here at 91 Springboard. I'm sure everybody present here is going to have a lot to take away. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Akshata, and thank you for having me to present to the group over here. Thank you everyone for taking your time out and attending this session. And I will try and make this session, you get the most of your time from this session. I was just looking at the numbers of the poll and the mix of people. So we have 11 people in the room today. And interesting to see that 90% of you are founders. And more important, interesting thing for me is almost 70% of you know about coaching. 60% of you are at an amateur level, and there is at least 10%, which perhaps mean 1% who is an expert level. So I'm going to keep that in my mind, and when I'm doing this presentation, I will try and make sure that I address the audience as per your need. And as Akshata mentioned, if you have any question, do feel free to put those questions in the chat, which we will take it up at the end of the session. If there is something very urgent, please raise your hand, and I'll come to you, and we can have that discussion at that moment itself. All right. So before further ado, let me move forward and let me first share with you what is the agenda for our today's session. So as Akshata mentioned, it's going to be a 1-hour session. I'm going to spend around roughly 30 to 45 minutes on the presentation, and I'm going to keep a bulk of our time to have an open conversation with you to discuss about some of the challenges and some of the elements that we would have covered in the presentation, and how does that reflect in your business, and how can you take those elements to your work and make that work for you. So today's challenge is basically we're going to look at some of the leadership challenges, see how you can tackle those leadership challenges. There are 3 core leadership competencies that I'm going to share with you, which will help you to handle those leadership challenges. And I'm going to introduce you to coaching, one of the ways of handling or managing your team. We're going to look at specifically how does coaching work at work, how do you use coaching as a team manager, and share with you the difference between coaching and mentoring, and share some references with you, resources and references with you, which you can use later on. And of course, take the question and answer session. So let's move on and look at what are some of the top 10 leadership challenges that we see. So there was a survey that was conducted by Center for Creative Leadership in 2016, and they had published a white paper on that. And the top 10 leadership challenges at that point of time, which I'm sure will be no different from what it is today, is this what you see in front of you. Okay, the biggest challenge that every leader has have felt, and maximum. So when you see these percentages over here, it basically says how many, what percentage of the people surveyed rank them as a part of the top 10 challenges. So developing managerial effectiveness comes up as the most important challenge that people face as being in a leadership role, which is almost a quarter of people. So delivering your managerial or your leadership results is what becomes a key challenges. So we have come up with this second poll, but Akshata, can we take this a bit later, if that's okay? Maybe I can complete the slide. Yeah, so we can just close the poll and we'll come back to this. Yeah. Sorry, this is supposed to happen earlier, but it's okay. I just moved on. All right, so I'm just going to close this from here. Okay. All right. So, so almost a quarter of the people face challenge in delivering their managerial responsibilities, and that could lead to many different different aspect of managerial. If we look at the top 5 reasons, which has come as the biggest leadership challenges, are developing their employees, guiding change, managing processes, and inspiring others. I'm sure people in this room will resonate with this top 10 challenges with one or at least one or more. And that's what we're going to look at about how and what we need to do about these challenges and how do we work around that. Now, the one important thing about these leadership challenges is what is the impact of this leadership challenge? So while you have those challenges, what's the impact? So here I would like to share with you another report, which was done by the CIPD, which is a UK-based HR organization, and they had basically surveyed the UK managers and the companies over there, which again, I'm sure will be no different for what we see in India. The impact of some of those leadership challenges leads to work conflict, and these work conflict, when you see it about, which are the big ones that is, which are getting impacted. The surprising things over here is that the first 5 biggest reasons are non-business impact. Basically, it is an impact on a person. With those leadership challenges, with those work conflict that are happening, people are getting more stressed. People are losing their motivation. People are getting more anxious. People are losing their self-confidence, and people are getting depressed. No wonder we have those people challenges in the company. All right. So these leadership challenges and work conflict are not just harmful for the work, for the business, but it is also harmful for an individual, which then leads to many other business challenges. Now, now that we have understood this whole problem about this leadership challenges and the impact that it has, let's look at how do we address those challenges. Okay, and before we look at how do we address the external environment, I want to first talk about what's more internal to you. Yeah. Now, one of the biggest challenge that a leader face is something that we call as an imposter syndrome, where they start doubting themselves. Yeah, and this is more prevalent with new managers, and And with the group of people that I see over here, which are youngsters, founders, youngsters, the startup world is all about the youngster. A lot of you guys are the first-time managers over here. Now, when you take up this role and you have an imposter syndrome, it start impacting your own confidence, and you start questioning your whether you deserve to be in that role or not. Now, the five typical, the typical syndromes of imposter syndrome, yeah, and the five typical ones are where you feel that you need to be knowing everything if you have to be a leader. You feel that you must be working alone so that you are respected for being a leader. You feel that as a leader, you need to be handling everything with ease and you have to be a natural talent. And when you feel that you need to be excelling in every role that you take up, every work that you take up, and you put so much of expectation on yourself that in your own eyes, you're not able to seeing that you're not good enough. So before we even talk about leadership skills to handle others, I think the most important thing that everybody needs to understand that you are in a leadership role because there is something good about it. Okay, and that's why you are in that role. So first thing that you need to do is to start believing in yourself. So if there is anybody over here who has any of these issues, I would first like to bring that up. And I would like to say that first have the self-confidence in you before you even talk about, changing the world or the team. And in case you have those doubts, those syndromes, I would tell you two things that you could do to handle it. First, believe in yourself, have that confidence in yourself. Start with that confidence. Second, if you have any doubts about it, please go and ask for feedback. As a leader, it's always good to ask and take feedback and understand what's working and what's working. That way you will have that confidence so that then you can move forward. So that's the first point that I want to leave with you, that being a leader, you need to have that self-confidence first. All right, so now before we move, so can we now bring in the poll, Akshita? So I would like you to poll and tell me, what are the biggest challenges that you see as a leader in your leadership roles? If you could, yeah, please. I think, yeah, we have 8 of the 13 responses. We have 9 now, but we can close the poll in next 3 seconds. I think we have all but one. Let's close the session, and there we are. So looks like the majority of you, half of the group over here, sees getting team productivity as your biggest challenge. And then you're split between the skills and the results. Okay, I think we only gave single choice to everyone, and I'm sure if we had given multiple choice, we would have 100% on all three. All right, so with that results, let's look at what are the 3 key leadership competencies that one needs to have, to handle those leadership challenges. And these are only 3. The first one over here is ability to lead. Yeah. So as a leader, you need to understand that leading is not about barking orders or giving commands to people to work. That's not leading. The ability to lead comes from how you make that come out from the individual on doing it by themselves. That's what leading is. And there are 3 ways to lead. The first thing that you need to understand about being in a leadership position, that it is not about you. It's not about you to take the credit. as a leader, you always, always, always give the credit to your team. And the interesting part about credit is when you take credit as an individual, you are actually limiting yourself. And why do I say that? Because as an individual, there is so much that you can do. There's limited things that you can do. But when you start taking the credit as a team, you are then leveraging the capability of your team, which makes your ability to deliver unlimited. So taking credit on a team is actually helps you to get more visibility. So make sure that when that whatever that you do as a team, it's all about team and not you. So that's the first important rule of ability to lead. The second rule of ability to lead is to understand that the team is not there to serve you, but you are there to serve the team. And that's what we call as the servant leadership. Yeah. And when you are a servant leadership, when you are a servant leader, what you do is that you shield your team. Once your team has been set the expectation, set the goal, you let them deliver. And you shield the team from getting distracted or being attacked from any direction. What you also do is you provide the resources that your team will need to deliver. A lot of time I've seen that a lot of leaders, they're trying to keep the resources with them because they feel important about it. But what they're not understanding is by holding the resources in their hand, they're limiting the team, and that limitation is creating challenge for themselves. Yeah. So that is what you need to look at, because remember one thing, when your management is looking at you, whether you are in a founder's role or a senior manager's role, it doesn't really matter. But when somebody is looking at your team, that team is actually a reflection of you. As a founder, the team that is working for you is a reflection of you and your organization. So that is the third key principle of ability to lead. The third principle about ability to lead is building trust. And I would like to explain this part with an example of what's a principle in the US Army. They have something called say, do, get. If the Army members don't see their leaders doing what they say, and there is a gap, then you cannot accept trust or respect from your Army members. Yeah. So those are the three things that if you want to lead, if you want to build your ability to lead, first, you need to make sure it's not about you, it's about your team, giving them credit. Two, be a servant leader, serve your team, protect your team. And third, build that trust in your team. With that, you will be able to build the ability to lead. The second competencies that you need to build is to have the ability to develop. When I say the ability to develop, it is about ability to develop people and ability to develop environment. Yeah, I'm going to focus this conversation on ability to develop environment. Your capability to lead your team to success in a difficult situation actually depends upon the environment that you have created. And that's how you would be successful, not just in easy situation, but also in other difficult situations. And the three ways for you to develop that environment is to first create a learning and development environment within the team. Everything that you do in the team has to have a sense of learning and development for the team member, which creates the excitement and the interest in the team to do the work that they are doing and not feel like it is a burden on them. That's my experience. People love to learn. People come to work to learn and develop themselves. So by creating that environment, you create that environment for people to develop and people to deliver good results. The second thing is, and this I'm talking in general over here, is that there needs to be a sense of professionalism in what you do. So when you are doing the learning and development, you are in a way building professionalism in what you do. Now, creating that professionalism is an attitude that you build in your team. Creating that professionalism is setting an example, or setting a standard that this is what we need to be doing. This is how we need to be doing. And if we are doing things, we are always doing it at certain level. That kind of professionalism is something that you need to develop in your team so that you get the best results out of it. And the third thing that you need to do to develop the environment is to keep your focus very clear. When people see, when the team members see the focus shifting from one side to other side to something to some other side, that's where people start losing their focus. That's where people start losing their attention. Now, the best way to build that focus is to align your priorities and your discussion with your team based on the values, missions, and the goals of the organization. I hope that people in this session are from organization where they clearly defined values, mission, and goal. If they are not, then I would suggest that as a founder, as a senior leader in your organization, set those values, mission, and goals so that that becomes a cornerstone for people to to build their priorities. Now, while you do that, at an organization level, as team level, you as a leader, to develop that environment, you need to be a role model. Yeah, so that's the burden that you carry when you are in a leadership role. You need to be a role model because what you do reflects on what the team thinks that they can do. So if you are late for meetings, you are late to office, the team thinks it's okay to be late. Yeah. If you share praise for people doing good work, they feel appreciated and they shall start praising other people, and that creates a great environment in the organization. If you are dismissive about your team, about their ideas, or you're not polite when you speak, they will hesitate to open up. They will hesitate to open up because they will feel that they may be pushed down or put down in an open environment, which they will not want to do. Yeah. Now, for when you are developing this environment, also remember that you need to be a strong leader. Okay, you need to be a strong leader who is a selfless leader. And when I speak about selfless leader, the one name that comes to my mind, and I'm sure it will resonate with a lot of you people, is MS Dhoni. MS Dhoni, in all his glory, has never had that spotlight sitting on him. He has always kept the spotlight on his team. He is the one who is possibly seen as the most selfless leader. And when we speak about selfless leader, we speak about leaders who are so strong that they don't quit. These are the leaders who are the last person to eat. And these are the leaders who are the most hardworking. And when your team sees you as that strong leader, that's when they start believing in what they're doing, believing in the team, and making it happen. So that's the way for you to have that ability to develop that environment that will foster your leadership skill and build that kind of environment for you to deliver those results. The third ability as a leader that you need to develop to handle those challenges is the ability to get results. Okay. Now, you may say that once we have built, we have delivered the ability to lead, we have delivered the ability to develop, we should now get the result. But it may not happen. It's not so easy, right? Now, for you to get those results, it's also important that you have that ability to get the results from your team. But there's a problem around that. When you are too team focused, you tend to become soft, and you tend to find it difficult to take those tough calls. On the other hand, when you tend to become more organization focused, you end up burning out your team and you end up not getting those results. So what do we do? The key over here is that you build a balance between being team focused and being organization focused. And the way to do that is empowerment. Okay? Empowerment happens when you trust in your team. And you trust in your team when you have built the right team, the strongest team that you can have. Okay, that's the key to it. Okay, what's also important about empowerment is that empowerment is, for the empowerment, trust is the underlying element, and that trust needs to be, is actually two ways, which basically means on one side where you need to trust your team to be empowering them, on the other side your team need to be trusting you, that you will not, you, when you are asking them to do something, when you are asking them to stretch themselves, you know that it is important, they know that it is important, and hence you're doing it. So that trust is very important. Now, so in all of this, if we say that empowerment is the key, ability to lead, ability to develop, and ability to get results is all about empowering, then the question is, how do you manage by empowering? And this is where I would like to introduce you to coaching. So what is coaching? So let me share with you the principle of coaching over here before we get into how to use coaching in work. So it's very important for you to understand what coaching is, because a lot of people think, when I speak about coaching, a lot of people think that coaching is all about training. A lot of people think that coaching is actually mentoring, but there's a big difference between mentoring and coaching, and I'm going to touch upon that. So let's right now focus on what is coaching. So ICF, which is International Coaching Federation, which is the mother body for professional coaching worldwide, defines coaching as partnering with clients in a thought-provoking and creative process that inspires them to maximize their personal and professional potential. The process of coaching often unlocks previously untapped sources of imagination, productivity, and leadership. Let's reflect on this definition, and let's focus on the words that I have marked in bold. Coaching is about partnering. Coaching is about provoking thought. Coaching is a creative process which helps the person to unlock previously untapped source of imagination. You build, you create new ideas, you inspire them, and you help them to achieve or maximize their personal and professional potential. And that's what coaching is. Yeah. Let's understand a bit more about what is coaching and how does it work. Yeah. So let me introduce this concept, and let me use an example of an iceberg over here. So when you are in a team and when you are looking at your team member, what you look at is the results that they're giving, the action that they're taking, and their behavior. Yeah. What you are not looking at is what are the feelings that they are going through, what are some of the thoughts that they have in their mind, what are some of the beliefs, so what are some of the, and particularly what are some of the limiting beliefs that is holding them back from doing things. What is there any values which are contradicting or playing against them, which is confusing them? And at the end of the day, what are their needs? How are they able to associate their needs with those results, action, and behavior? And more often than not, people not performing is not because they are not good, because there's nothing like bad person. Everybody's a good person. It's because all of these are scattered all over. For you to get the best result for your team, when you coach a person, you basically try to align everything in one line. And when you have that alignment, that's when you start delivering result. Look at yourself. When you look at yourself and you say, I have delivered these results, I have delivered these actions, I have delivered this behavior, it's because you have a strong feeling about it, you have a strong thoughts about it, you have a strong belief about it, and your values and your needs are being supported by it. That's when you are doing it. So when you coach, you try to bring this alignment so that your people can deliver. All right. So how does coaching work? So coaching works basically as a one-on-one conversation. And in that conversation, you are listening to your team member. and you're asking them questions. You're asking them very powerful questions that helps them to get a broader perspective. And when they start getting that broader perspective, they start clearing their mind clocks. Those limiting beliefs get taken care of, and then they start getting new thoughts and ideas. And suddenly, something which was not possible, they see things being possible. And there is a neuroscience behind that. If you think about the aha moment, when does that aha moments happen? You're just sitting watching something, and suddenly an aha moment happens. That aha moment happens when two neurocells connect, right? Through your coaching, you actually help them to create that aha moment so that those neurocells connect and they get that moment. And that's the power of coaching. Yep. All right, so with that introduction on coaching, and I'm going to come back to any of your questions on what and stuff on the coaching later on. Let me now talk about how can you use coaching at work. Yeah, the most important thing over here is if you want to use coaching at work, you need to stop using the command and control approach. That's not how you manage your team the most effective way. That's not how you empower your team. So for you to empower your team, you need to start collaborating instead of controlling. You need to be delegating more responsibility and empowering them. You need to be talking less and listening more. And you need to stop giving us the orders and rather asking questions to understand them. And not be judgmental about how good, how bad they are, or they're not doing this, they're not doing that, but give them feedback that will help them to learn things and develop themselves. If you're ready to do that, then you're ready to coach. Yep. So let's move forward on that. So how do you prepare yourself to become a coach? All right, so where to begin? There are a few interesting things over here that you need to keep in your mind and do a checklist about where do you stand on some of these things when you converse with your team members. First, how well do you know your team? Yeah, I know in a startup world, in a large team world, it's very difficult to know your team. But as a leader, you need to know your team. You need to know what they like, what they don't like, what triggers them, what makes them happy. And if you know that, you will know how to handle your team. The second thing is about yourself. You cannot let the stress reflect on you. You have to remain positive in front of your team. Because once you have that stress on you, that reflects in how you look and what you say. So try and be positive. Yeah. What you also need to do is when you're speaking to your team, leave your ego at the door. You are not going there with a superiority position, but you're going there as a servant leader position. So leave your ego behind, and that will change the whole conversation that you will be having with your team. I've seen a lot of questions in the form talking about how do I handle difficult people. This is how you handle difficult people. Yep. Rather than telling people what to do, start asking questions. And the key thing about asking questions is ask open-ended questions. Ask question which starts with what. Don't ask closed-ended questions because that's not really going to help for people to open up. If you want your people to open up, ask them open-ended questions. And when you ask the question, please listen. You don't just ask question and interrupt and not listen, but you listen very carefully. And when you are listening, you listen not just to the words that are coming from them, but listen to the body language. Listen to it, how they're saying it. Listen to what the expressions are there on their face and understand what is going to that person. Have that empathy when you're listening to that person, and that will give you the teaching moments. Yeah, look for that teaching moment. And that's where you then coach, you inspire, and you take risks which will help you to grow as a leader. So that's the preparation that you need to before you go on coaching. Now let's talk about a simple template that you can follow to coach your team. Okay. Generally, I suggest that you do a one-on-one coaching. This is what I used to do when I was, in my corporate world. One-on-one coaching really works. Yeah, it gives that confidence and safe space for people to talk about it. So, but you can also have group coaching. If you see that there's a certain situation that needs to be addressed as a group level, then you can have a group coaching. Yeah. So whether you're doing a one-on-one coaching or you do a group coaching, this is the template that you can follow, which could help you to have a very constructive coaching conversation with your team. Remember one thing, coaching is not about telling. Coaching is about asking. So this whole process is about how you build a structure where you can ask. Okay. So first thing first, when you start your coaching, always start with praising the achievement and the growth that you're seeing in that person, whether it is in the numbers, that is a person or whatever. Okay. Always start with a positive note. Okay. As a mentor, there's the next two is actually the mentoring thing, but this is also from a work point of view, you need to have a bit of mentoring. And I'm going to talk about what is the difference between mentoring and coaching separately. But the next two part is the more of a mentoring thing, where you highlight certain performance issues that they are facing. And you also help them understand why those performance issues are important to them, not just for the role or for the company, but for them as well. And that's where you stop mentoring, and then you move back to coaching. And then you ask the employee about their perspective. Do they agree to your assessment? Do they believe that they are facing that problem and they need to work on it? Because unless they believe that, you can never change that. Yeah. So please ask for their perspective and have a conversation to understand them better. Maybe you are not understanding it correct. So again, when I said leave your ego behind, maybe you are not understanding that and the conversation can go in a different direction. That is all okay. But let's assume that 99% of the time, people know what they are doing wrong, right? And the moment when they start accepting it, the first half of the coaching is already done. So ask for their perspective. Let them tell you what it is. And then have a conversation about let them tell you what are the barriers that is holding them back, and how and what can be done to address those barriers. And that's where you move into the solution phase. Again, the solution is not about you telling them the solution. The solution is about what they are telling you. It could be that they can say, oh, I know what I need to do. I will go and do blah, 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 blah. Done. Go ahead and do it. Or they may come back and tell you, hey, listen, boss, I think I'm struggling over here. Can you help me with this? You can then go forward and help them, because they are asked, this is the solution. They're ready to do what you want them to do, and you are providing them a solution that will help them to get them to do what needs to be done. So find those solutions. And once you have defined those solutions, okay, you document it. You make those action points SMART. I'm sure everybody understands SMART over here, so I'm not going to get into that. But set your goal based on the conversation and put a target to that. Okay. Once you put that goal and a target, this last step is the most important and the most effective thing about coaching. You ask them about the action plan. And when I'm saying ask them about the action plan, you don't ask them about a complete detailed 10-page plan. You ask them just one question. What is it that you will do next to move towards your goal? And that one simple step is what will help them to move forward without you going after that. Now, if I give an example over here, let's say someone is struggling in their sales productivity, and I think productivity was 50% of the issue. If sales productivity is one of the big issues that they're facing and you're coaching on them, and you come up with a solution and the SMART goals, then you will have an action plan. And maybe he'll say tomorrow that, hey boss, listen, tomorrow I'm going to go straight on the field at 10 o'clock. That's the action plan. that's a trigger. And if anybody have read the book Atomic Habits, okay, the cue and the triggers are the key things to build that habit in yourself. So if you help them to plan that one step to go towards their goal, you have done your job. You don't need to do anything else. You don't need to go back with the bamboo behind that. And that's the action plan that you need to discuss that. The next two steps over here is more about keeping a follow-up. Yeah, you need to keep a follow. You can't just do a, you can't just do a coaching session and then, expect the things world will change. World will not change. You need to keep this as an ongoing process. I recommend doing weekly. If not weekly, you should do at least fortnightly. And then when you meet again and again, you will realize that some of the discussion and the plans and the goals that are being set are not happening. And that's very okay. Because it's not necessarily the first plan, the first goal, and the first action plan that has come to your mind is the best plan and the best goal. It may so happen that reality will hit you hard and you will know, oh, this didn't work. So maybe I need to be more careful about how I'm looking at things, and I need to be more reflective about what I'm doing. And that will again take the person to the next level of thinking. And that's how you're actually building a complete coaching process. So that's the model that you will follow to do the coaching, in your work, and try and solve that problem that you are facing. Yeah. So that, ladies and gentlemen, that's how you will go and coach. Now I will talk to you about the key difference between mentoring and coaching. Okay. So if you look at mentoring and coaching, mentoring on one hand is being directive and telling people what to do. Telling people not because you are, not necessarily because you want to boast yourself, but you're telling people because it is your experience, knowledge which you're sharing, but you're still telling them. Coaching, on the other hand, is non-directive. It is trusting in that person, trusting in the person's ability, trusting in the person's experience, and helping them to think about what can they do about it. Okay, so when you're moving from being directive to being non-directive, you're moving from being instructing and telling to being, you're shifting your focus then towards offering advice or giving advice. And as you're moving more towards coaching, you start asking questions and giving feedback. And when you actually move, completely towards coaching, what you're doing is you're only asking them to be very reflective on things and build and raise awareness from inside so that they take ownership of what they need to be doing. And that's how you balance, at least in the work side, you balance between mentoring and coaching. All right, so that brings me to the last slide of my presentation, and this is where I want to introduce what is executive coaching. So I'm a professional executive coach, and I work with senior managers, CXOs, and founders as their executive coach. And as I mentioned in the previous slide, my job as an executive coach is to help my clients reflect and build that awareness and help them to be accountable towards their self and their professional goals. Why does executive coach work as an organization, especially for the senior level, while managers have to be, coaching the team on a day-to-day basis? For senior managers, the reason for that is, one, I'm a professional coach, and as Akshita mentioned, I'm an ICF-ACC certified with PCC level training. So I'm certified and accredited coach. When you have coaches who are experienced and nuanced in the business and the function, it creates that edge and confidence in the people when they're talking. It brings a completely unbiased and neutral approach to the discussion. So there is a lot of trust level when you have an executive coach working. And most importantly, as an executive coach, we are trained to provide that safe space and confidentiality where people can open up and discuss their situation so that they are able to reflect, build self-awareness, and create that action plan. So that's what I do as an executive coach. And I like to wish you all to be a good coach to your team and do that empowerment, give that empowerment to their team so that as a team and as a leader, you are successful. These are some of the resources that I have used to build this presentation. I'll be happy to share these with you. you can contact me or Akshata, and I'll share the presentation and the links with you. So with that, I end my presentation. It's 4:50 right now. So we have 10 minutes for question. I'm open for answering any questions from anybody. Thank you so much for the time.
Thank you, Rosario, for the really insightful presentation. Thank you all for being such a great audience. And if you have any questions, please put it on the chat box. We also have 10 minutes. You can also unmute and ask any questions that you may have for Rosario. I do know some of you all, sorry, I do know some of you all had put across questions in the registration form as well. So this would be a good platform for you to really get them answered. Some questions around motivation, retention. So feel free to ask away.
So in the meanwhile, we had that last poll, Akshita, maybe you might also put up that poll as people
Sure.
just reflect a bit on the presentation and ask a question. Okay, I'd also like to, so one thing I wanted to ask you all. Okay, so before you ask me a question, I want to ask questions to everyone. Maybe we'll come back to the poll later on, Akshata, remove it again, sorry. But we'll do the poll later on. So guys, thank you again for the time. If I can request you to tell me that one takeaway that you have from the session, what will that be? So I'll really appreciate if if people can share that their comments on this. What is that one takeaway from this session that you will take away to you or to your work and test out for yourself? Yeah, the imposter syndrome. Very true. Thanks, Fatima. Yeah, the imposter syndrome is basically your biggest enemy is yourself. Yeah, once you take care of yourself, everything else works around. Thank you for that. What else? Anybody else would like to share? Yeah, I'm glad, Punika. There's a big difference, between coaching and mentoring. I've spent my almost a quarter of a century in my corporate world where I thought I was a good coach. It's only after I learned about coaching, I realized that I wasn't a coach, but I was more a mentor. Yeah. So, and a mentor is being good, but a coach is more powerful. Thank you for that. Thank you to both of you for sharing. Is there anything else that anybody would like to share? Yeah, give credit to team, absolutely. Very nice. Thanks for sharing, Sarvam. Any questions? All right, let me just read Satyam's comment over there. My prime takeaway is to give a simple action plan to my team members while coaching them through and follow it up. Thank you so much. Yeah, absolutely. Keep it simple. Keep it simple and empower your team and follow up. Any questions? Akshita, we had some questions in that list. You would like to take a couple of those questions maybe just to warm up the discussion?
Sure.
Since we have around 6 more minutes.
Sure, we can do that. I think primarily there were some questions around keeping the team motivated.
We have one question. Sorry,
Yeah.
we have a question for Punika.
Yeah.
I'll just read that. Yeah. So in today's generation, finding the right good talent is becoming a challenge. How to go about it? Well, you cannot coach yourself to to get the right and the good talent. Finding is one thing. Finding is one thing. That's a completely different topic, Punika. Maybe a separate discussion. But if I have to give a suggestion on that, I think it's more about, it's not more about, let me put it this way, unless it's a technical job, okay, where it is a technical requirement, specific technical requirement, I think more often than not, finding good talent actually means finding a good person. And if you only define a good person by the talent, that you're missing 50%. And that 50% is about the person's attitude and aptitude. So when you are looking for a good, when you're looking for a good recruit, look for the good attitude and aptitude, and then train them to be talented. That's the one way of solving your problem. So rather than going and finding a ready-made item, okay, get a mixture and then build it up yourself. And that's something that I've seen work very well for smaller organization, whether that is a startup or that is an SME. If you're going to run after the talent, it's going to be difficult. But if you start creating talent, that's where the key thing is. And I would like to give one example over here. I mean, since this is a bit of an off-track question, but I'll still, I like to give an example over here. I'm sure everybody must have heard about this company, Thyrocare. Yeah, Dr. Velumani, he sold that company recently for, I think that was for 2,000 crore. Okay, and he has 4,000 people working for it. And for those who don't know about it, all these 4,000 people that are working with Thyrocare, for them, Thyrocare is their first job. And that breaks the myth that you need talent to actually create a good, great company. Get good people and make them talented and make the business grow. That's what I would say. I hope that answers your question in some way. That was Punika. Yeah, Punika. Any other questions? We still have 4 minutes to go, a few more minutes to go. Can we now put the poll up just in case? Okay, there's one more question that's come up from Satyam. I'm facing an issue with one of my team members, and I've realized that there are certain basics that needs to be worked upon. I can place some issues in the beliefs in the value segment out of the iceberg example. Anything that you like to add to work on this that I should take care of? All right, so great that through this meeting you have been able to actually define what could be the issue, and more often than not, it all leads to belief and values. Now, once you have identified that this could be the potential issue, the next thing for you is to create a safe environment for this person to have an open conversation. Now, that safe environment can happen when, one, you build confidentiality in that conversation. Two, you're not being judgmental about him or her, whoever that person is. So my suggestion to you is create a safe environment to have a discussion. Make sure that you are providing them the confidentiality, that trust, and not being judgmental and not at all when you're having that conversation. That will be my suggestion, Satyam. Try that out and see how that goes. All right, Akshara, would you like to put up that poll quickly? I mean, yeah, appreciate it, Satyam.
I'll just be putting up the poll.
Yeah. So guys, we have a mix of founders and functional heads over here in this call. So if any one of you would like to know more about executive coaching and how it can benefit you or your organization, please let me know, and I'll be happy to reach out to you and connect for further discussion.
Rosario, if you could also put maybe your LinkedIn and any email ID that you would like to share so people can reach out to you.
Okay, so all right, let me just put my comment. So let me just open my chat box. And guys, this is my email ID. So if anybody wants to reach out to me for the presentation, for the links, or to talk more about executive coaching, you can reach out to me on my email ID, which I'm just putting up over here, berecoventures.com. All right, so rosario.barrett@berecoventures.com. This is my website. You can go and to berecoventures.com, and my LinkedIn is, you can search me as Rosario Barreto. So I need to go and find the link. So I'm going to put my name over here, so you can search for me. Yeah, and you'll get my profile. Yeah, so I think we have some responses for the poll. So thank you very much for those guys who have responded. Akshita, if you can share the details with me, I can connect back with these people. So thank you so much. All right, so we are at 5 o'clock, Akshata. You would like to close the meeting then?
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much, Rosario, once again for taking time out and doing this for us, and to all of you for sharing your ways, asking your questions as well. Yes, Rosario, you were saying.
My pleasure. Sorry, I just going to say my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So you all already have the email ID. If you're interested to know more about, the executive coaching that Rosario offers, please do reach out to him and also connect with him on LinkedIn. I'll quickly also put up a feedback form link.
Oh yeah, sorry.
And please feel free to fill it in, because we do want to do more such sessions with Rosario, and we would like to bring them to you. So please let us know what it is that you're looking for, and if you have any feedback for today's session as well, do fill that in.
So you're putting the link over there?
Yes, I put the link. Great. So I'll be on the call for another minute or two while you all fill in the feedback. Once you do, you can feel free to drop out. And thank you so much once again for attending.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your time and for attending this webinar.